Number two is boys are reckless, right? Boys are reckless, so when you're immature, you make reckless decisions. You just try stuff because you don't have to face the consequences, because you run from the consequences, right? And you don't ever think about them. You just push them out of your mind. I mean, when you look at all these crazy videos that are out there, of like ridiculousness, you see that show on MTV and stuff like that. I mean, the ones who do the really, really crazy stuff are always boys.
Always
boys
man.
Stuff, Yep. I really feel like I could jump off this roof and land perfectly on that fence post. I really feel like I could do it. And then they take off and do it because they're not thinking of the consequences. They're not able to forecast how this is actually going to play out for me, and I think that's another sign of someone who's a boy is that they don't have that ability to forecast, how this is going to play out. And so when you don't have that ability to forecast, you just live in the moment. You live in what's happening right now, what's in front of me. And right now, I know I'm married, but there's this woman standing right in front of me and she looks good. That's it. That's all you think about. You don't think about how that's going to play out tomorrow morning, or how that's going to play out down the road.
A little deeper though, because it's not always that woman's looking good and I want her. It's woman's coming on to you.
Oh, sure.
And don't care that you're married.
Right.
That's tough. Those are the tough ones. It's not so much you got to coerce someone into doing something. Somebody is willing and ready without hesitation and don't care. Man, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, right. And she's coming on to you. She looks good. She's telling you that she's not going to charge you anything for this. In other words, I'm not going to ask anything of you.
Not this,
right? No, I'm not talking about that, and I knew you're going to take it there. But what I was saying was in other words, it's not going to cost. Oh no, I just want to be with you.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
That whole lovely talk, right? Wow. And then at home, you got somebody who you're struggling with right now and she's not happy with you. And when you go home, she's going to have an attitude with you. Yep. And you're gonna have to dig through it. I mean, I get it. I've been in the middle of those things. I've been there. But at the same time, that's where maturity kicks in. Can you take the rough road? Can you take the tougher road? Or are you not able to forecast? Are you not able to see that, man, this is not going to end well if I take this route?
Well, see, that's to me is those voices, because we all have them. We all know. See, the whole hypersensitivity that we're facing right now is it's like you couldn't say to anybody, man, you fat. Oh, I see you're struggling with weight. No, you fat. And if you could accept that for yourself, you would actually change. But we don't change because we're going, yeah, I'm a little out of shape. You know what I'm saying? I've gained a little weight. Knowing you want to be in better shape, you're feeling it, but you won't call it for what it is. And so when we get over trying to be so ultra sensitive, the one thing that I'll say about consequences, and this is something I've had to learn, is you can pick your choices, but you can never pick your consequences. So you can pick your choices all day long.
Yep.
But you can't pick your consequences. So as far as facing them, we just spend our life tired because we're running. We are constantly running because when that consequence comes around, that's when the lion gets stronger. That's when deception, you respond in anger, or you tried to outmuscle someone who's coming at you for something you did, and you try to go off on them. It's like, man, own it. You know you're wrong. So it's like it's having the ability to have a freaking honest conversation with yourself. If we quit dancing around these subjects I had to come to a point, and this is so personal for me because it wasn't until I love the parable of the prodigal son. I love teaching that. I love using that as an illustration and an example because I don't even want to get into it because I could teach on that for an hour. But the prodigal son came to himself. And so in the midst of me living in life's pig pen and just unhappy, knowing that nothing good was coming of anything I was doing, nothing, that I had to call myself, man, I don't say it. You're a freaking liar. You're so deceptive. Dude, to have that conversation with yourself, whoo, that was hard. That was so hard for me. I was actually going through the Bible, man, and finding every verse I could find on liar, lying, lies. Oh my gosh, man. I'm like, bro, the Bible wrote about you. Because you're being so deceptive. You're taking people down paths they didn't even want to go down. But you're taking people there. And that's why, back to women, I just honestly believe that's why we have so many wounded women that are so hurt from men not taking responsibility and owning. I did my damage. I did. I mean, I will own that for the rest of my life. However, once I finally accepted what I was really doing, and honestly, I was going to say who I was, but that's not who I was. Who I am is who I am right now today. That was the guy waiting to be chiseled out of this rock stone wall that I had constructed to keep people out. The scary thing with walls, when we put up walls to protect us from anything coming in. However, it protects from you from going out. So a wall has so when we build these walls up, it hides us in. And so it wasn't until I had to break through that wall by accepting that I was a liar, that I was a cheat, that the stuff I did was so wrong and it was so it was so wounding and hurting. And it's like some people don't make it through that. And so I give kudos to you because you've made it 23 years into your marriage. I've been married twice. Collectively, I got you beat on marriage time. But I did it twice.
Right.
And divorced twice because of what I was unwilling to accept in me. Because the one thing I've learned is that as men, and I can only speak for men, if we take the time to work on ourselves, this is my personal experience. If you begin to, when I'm teaching young people, one thing I always say to them, you are the smartest, dumbest generation that ever existed. And the only reason why I say that is because the magic of the cell phone. And my thing is, there's information at your fingertips. I don't condone cheating because I've been through it. However, ain't no reason in this world you shouldn't get answers right. There's no reason in the world you shouldn't find out how to do a math problem or how to find out who Napoleon was or Genghis Khan, or all that information is on the internet. Come on. You get to a point to where what happened to me is the lack of me working on myself is because I had a lazy spirit on me that was I was lazy. But people couldn't see that because I'm in the gym 5-6 days a week. I'm lifting weights. I look the part. I'm strong. I look in shape. I'm lazy as hell because I didn't want to work on me. Because when I started working on me, all that little silliness and all that stuff I was doing, you don't have time. And so you wind up, it's like a decrescendo with the bars up here and then it goes down small like this, is because you start life out here. The sky's the limit, man. You're open to anything because you're developing yourself. You're developing character. You're putting things into your life And then as you lie in deceit and you start running from responsibility and not taking ownership of what you're supposed to do, it gets so small, and you become such a small person mentally, psychologically, emotionally,
Spiritually.
spiritually. You end up getting to a place where you have nothing to give.
Mhm.
And that's a very dangerous place to be in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. I'm gonna hit the third one, and we're gonna have to wrap this up. I think we're going quite long here. But last point that I had in there that I wanted to hit is how do you tell the difference between a man and a boy? Is boys can't commit. Boys can't commit. Um, One of the things that I see all the time and that I hear all the time when I'm talking to young women, I've had a number of young women who, will sit and confide in me when they're in these long-term relationships with guys, but the guys won't ask them to marry them, and and it's funny because we make up so many excuses. We have so many excuses. Well, he's been through things in his past, and his parents didn't do well, and no, the reason he hasn't committed to you is because he doesn't want you. Because if he wants you bad enough, he's going to sell everything.
Yep.
to get there, and but see, like you said, we don't want to hear the truth.
No.
We don't want to hear the truth.
Yep.
I want to flower it. I want to paint it over, and so number one, he's immature, right? Because he doesn't know what he wants, and he's not willing to go after what he wants. Because somebody who's mature goes after what they want.
Yep.
They're not afraid to. They're willing to commit to that journey and go after what they want. Somebody who's immature just takes whatever comes their way, and I'll ride with this person until something better comes along.
The whole point is, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free?
Well, and even beyond that, I mean, I might settle for the cow that is not what I want because she's in my yard.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I don't have to do nothing.
Pressure on me,
right,
to make a change.
And she's willing to hang out, and I don't have to build a barn for her. I
right,
mean,
absolutely.
You can keep building on this thing, right? So
but it's truth though. But sometimes how we learn, that's why Jesus used parables, man.
Right.
He's universally brilliant. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he is beyond Einstein, and he's beyond Stephen Hawking's and all these other people. And it's like he had to use stories to help people understand how this thing works. So you building on that story is absolutely priceless because you're telling the truth.
Well, yeah. I mean, so from that standpoint, I mean, if he can't commit to you, you need to give him space so he can mature. Because here's the thing that you can't do is you can't mature him.
Oh,
you cannot grow him up. A woman cannot mature a man.
Nope.
And I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. I know that somebody's going to give a hard time and they're going to start talking about mamas and all this stuff. But let me tell you something. A man does not mature when he's getting what he wants.
And plus, we ain't talking about mothers and sons.
Right. No, we're not.
We're talking about boys and men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, if you're a young lady out there and you've been dating somebody for a long time and they haven't asked you to marry them,
what do you feel is a long time, since we're just kind of chatting? 3 years, 5 years, 2 years?
Personally?
Yeah. Personally.
This is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Whether you want to marry this woman within a year. It doesn't take that long. And so if you're over a year and he still is like, well, I'm not sure, or I feel like I need this. No, he already knows.
I'm going to throw this out there because I want you to answer this too.
Okay.
So what about, I'm in it for a year. I think it's workable. She seems like that's what I want. She's okay. You get engaged. And what about a 3-year engagement?
See, why are you going to wait like that? I mean, to me, here's the exception I'll say to that. If you're young and both of you are still pursuing your education,
college or something.
right? You're in college, and so you're both pursuing goals, but you're committed to each other, and you're willing to wait. But see that nothing should stop you from making that commitment real, right? And here's the
But
thing.
is engagement a commitment? Do you see that as a cop out, or I want to lock this down?
Well, here's the thing that I have found in many years of dealing with single people, right? I mean, I was a pastor for 10 years and led singles ministry for 12 years. And so dealt with single people in relationships all the time. And here's what I have found, that the man goes through it. I mean, he like deals with the reality of the relationship, and he actually makes the commitment at the point of the engagement ring. When he's got to spend a couple $1,000s on a ring, and he's going to give it to you, and he may never see it again, that's real. And at that point, he makes the commitment. Women tend to go through it just before the actual ceremony. The man tends to go through it before he gets engaged. And so there's a reality to that ring. Now it's totally different if he's getting you a cubic zirconia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, $100 engagement ring.
Right. I mean,
and I'm not knocking for people who have actually done that, because we could get blowed up on that and be like, look, man, I've been married for 50 years and I gave her a $50 ring. Okay, well, 1950, I can kind of understand that.
Right. No, I mean, but here's the thing: it should cost you something. I think that there's actually like
there's a rule.
What's that?
There's a rule.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What is it, like 3 months? It's supposed to be like 3 months of your income, or 2 months, or something like that.
A certain percentage of your income should go towards the ring.
Right. And so from that standpoint, but I think the point of it is if you love her, it should cost you something, right? And so if he loves you, he's willing to pay that price, and he's willing to commit to it. If he's not sure, he's going to have all kinds of excuses as to why he's not sure, and it'll get deep. Because let me tell you something, people think that the guys aren't deep. Guys can get deep, especially when they're lying.
Oh man.
They can get real deep.
Masterful at it.
Oh yeah, and start pulling all kinds of stuff out. Well, my father, and then my mother, and then my Aunt Betty, and my, Uncle Reuben, and pull all kinds of stuff out, and it get real complicated and deep, right? But the truth is, he just don't want you bad enough.
So I'm gonna throw a little wrench in there.
Uh-oh, go for it.
Long-term married, and I'm not. I've done it twice.
Okay.
I felt like this was it, and I didn't make it. I was committed. I didn't make it twice.
Right.
So I just have a little bit different take on that, especially for women, because that's not necessarily the answer either, just because you get a ring in a year either. So what we'll get into in future podcasts is because, and this one wasn't covered nearly as deep as what we'll take it, because there's so many more signs you need to be looking for way before that ring. And even if a man does present you with the ring, that doesn't mean you have to say yes.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And a woman has to, because I know chemical makeup wise, women emotionally are way more engaged in a relationship a year later than a man is. We just don't get emotionally committed. And that's why affairs, and that's why the extra relationships happen, because one of the best advices I ever got was from an old boss of mine who had 9 or 10 kids. And he told me, he said, I don't believe men should marry until they're at least 35 years old. And this was probably 20 years ago, he told me that. And the more that I've had people sitting in my chair, the more speaking that I've done and talking to people, that's actually pretty accurate for any woman to go. And it's like, who wants to wait? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I get that problem, but we need to be real on this podcast to where you ain't always getting what you think, honey. It may look like this because I've been there. I wasn't ready. And I didn't, and I was the guy who had all, especially the first time I got married, I had I had the voices going on because I was hearing, don't do it. And I was hearing, yep, that's what you should do. Don't do it. That's what you should do. You should do it. You should do it. You should do it. And at the end of the day, man, Dave got left out of the equation because I didn't take responsibility for what my heart was telling me. I didn't take responsibility for what I had created. I didn't search me and say, are you ready to be a husband? Because there's certain situations in life that don't, just because they happen, don't make you mature enough to handle a marriage. And so some of us need to do some serious growing up. So just because you got a good job or you got yourself in a situation, that doesn't mean you're ready to get married. That just means financially you could support somebody. That don't make a marriage. And I love what you said as far as the thing that you conquered that I didn't. And I really appreciate you for this. As you faced the tough times, you embraced what I call in training is the suck moments. It's when I'm training people and you get into these suck moments where this is not cool, but you're trying to get to a certain result. So you have to embrace those moments you don't want to in order to get to, like you said, the prize at the end is so much greater. And I won't have that opportunity. You will, because you made it through. And so that's why I love the podcast that we have, because we're as different as we are alike. And so that just wasn't my experience. So, an engagement ring, I mean, to me, I hear what you're talking about, but that don't mean nothing to me because I wasn't ready. You can go buy one. If you got the money to go buy one, that don't mean you're ready.
Well, and I'd push back on the 35 thing. I wasn't 35 when I got married.
Right.
And I have cousins who got married at like 18, 19, to their high school sweethearts, and have been married ever since.
Yes.
And so there's I hear what you're saying as far as maturity wise, and I think that there's some, there's some balance to it. But for me, and I'm not trying to be offensive at all, but I could have chose to go a different way at any point in my marriage. I could have chose to leave. I could have chose to start over. But I think some of it is it goes back to that whole piece of accepting responsibility. I made this choice and I'm gonna stick with it.
That's character. And that's, that's my whole point to the women out there that are listening to this. And I'm just trying to be raw and honest. I know I've come a long way, so I can talk about it now without toxic shame because I've had to grow and mature and become a much more spiritual man than I've ever been before in my life. And so just my whole point is, I can't reiterate enough of the power of being quiet. Yeah, in this world where we are constantly on, when you and I were growing up at midnight, here come the flag.
Right. I mean, everything shut off.
The TV is off, man. The TV gone. There's no channels out of the 3 that we had. They're gone. So now here come in the 80s, CNN News. First time ever, early 80s, man, that Ted Turner was like, oh, I'm about to change this. Because there was a huge argument with him stealing news clips from other people to use their videos. I mean, it was a huge, big blow up thing. But that started 24-hour news. And then it's 24-hour TV. And we're constantly on. We're attached to this. We wake up with this dumb thing. We go to bed with it. You have to practice on not using your phone. That's never been thought about before in our lives.
Right. Oh, in human history.
In human history. How many times have you gone out to dinner and there's a family of 4? All 4 of them are the mom, dad, and the kids is on the phone. It's like, wow, man, that's scary. And it checks me because I'm like, oh my gosh, You know what I'm saying? How often do we do that? How often are we not in the present moment? So my whole point is, especially as far as relationships and the kind of man I was, the ones that were quiet and could listen are the ones that avoided the trail of devastation I left behind, because they listened to their heart. And that some of them said, you know, you're a good person, but you're not ready. And it's like, and I'm putting my game face on. I'm thinking, oh, I got this. Yeah, you know, and dude, they just look right through you. Ladies, there is something to say about that spiritual walk that is between you and God and no one else. It's not about a church. It's not about a label. It's get rid of that stuff in your mind. Church has nothing to do with brick and mortar and stained glass. Nothing. So you have to develop that relationship with God. Brian said it earlier. Just reading the Bible, the wisdom that's in the Bible is priceless. And we ignore it because we've been hurt by religion or whatever. So you want to make the Bible of no effect when the Bible is extremely effective. It's church that messes up everything, which will be a podcast on the road some other time. But my whole point is, you have to learn to become in tune with your spiritual being. You've got to learn to listen to your heart. And the thing about it is, the more you're wounded, the harder it is for you to hear. Because I have had countless people sit in my chair, countless men and women who sat in my chair and look back and go, man, I really blew it with this person because they were really good. But I was thinking everybody was so deceptive and such a dog and everybody was this. I lost a very good man or a woman because of your preconceived built up wounds that never got healed. And you never allowed it. You never took it to the Father. You never took it to God. You never took the time to hear your own heart on, you know what? Maybe you should stop dating for a little while and work on this in here. Maybe you should read some books on spirituality, on tapping into the spiritual person that's on the inside. That's when my life changed. And for me, being 52 years old, 2 marriages, heart attack, prison time, it's like, it took me, I mean, I've probably been my best about the last 3 years. Man, that's rough to sit here and admit this publicly. And so, but my flaws have been laid. I couldn't hide my stuff. You know, it's been out there. It's happened. And so that's why I'm just trying to be so raw and honest, man. And it's like you said in the beginning, man, tough talk in sacred spaces. This is just real talk, because our whole goal on this podcast is to get you to a place to where you can personally be responsible for your life and your feelings, that you can't turn around and blame someone who hurt you when you know in your heart, when you were in the relationship, it wasn't good. When you saw a text that you questioned, but you blew it off. When you saw a woman touch him a certain way or something happened, but you blew it off. He's lying to you, and you know he's lying to you, but you're willing to accept those lies, and then you get pissed off when it goes bad because your ego got wounded. That's what got wounded, because you were thinking either A, I can really change this guy, or he's not as bad as what people are telling me. Girl, you got to learn to tap into that, because that's where you can save your own life. I'm just saying, man. I just had to put that out there.
Well, we've been talking for quite a while now. I think we're going to have to wrap this up. So you've been listening to the Outcast Chronicles, and we'd love for you to like us and subscribe and give us some comments. Tell us what you think. Throw down there some ideas of some things you
No judgments, man. No judgments.
No judgments.
You can comment on. You can say whatever you want, man. We're not. Trust me, we won't be offended. We are definitely two people that would be very hard to offend. So, but my thing is, that's the whole purpose of why we're doing what we're doing, is this stuff has got to be aired out, man. It's just real talk.
Yeah. So put some questions down there that you'd like us to address, some things that maybe you want us to talk about, and we'll put it on the list. So
Absolutely.
thanks for joining us today, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Appreciate you, everybody, man. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.